I'm Patrick Baxter, actually Dr. Patrick Baxter, graduated this year. Not a medical doctor, even though I do work in sexual health now. So I've got background in anthropology, visual anthropology, artistic filmmaking, some performance stuff, research, and as I said, I now work in sexual health for LGBT Foundation. I identify as gay and queer, so say gay is my sexual orientation and queer is a sort of more political subjectivity around how I view the world through sexual gender lenses. I've been living in Manchester 9 years now, 8-9 years. Prior to that, I obviously lived in Ireland and Dublin, Spain, Mexico, traveled a lot in Germany, Holland, Italy. So experienced a lot of different types of, I suppose, gay, queer spaces in my time. I wasn't always out as a gay man. I was, closeted, then identified as bi for a long time, and was never really kind of comfortable with that position in life. It's not that, because there's a lot of biphobia that goes on, and I was genuinely bi, but I just couldn't really determine how that suited my kind of political viewpoint of the world. So it was a sort of uncomfortable position, one that I had never really fixed clearly. And then I suppose it was probably about 5-6 years ago, I sort of okay, I can't do this anymore, and really just kind of realized, I suppose, that I'm a gay man. That might lead, I suppose, directly into kind of, I suppose, the nature of this project is talking about awareness of HIV and AIDS. So, I'm a child of the 80s. I'm giving my age away there somewhat. So it was probably about 7 or 8 when duly I became sort of aware that I found boys attractive. I know that's kind of quite an early age, and I was very drawn to sort of the darker skinned boys. I mean, in Ireland at the time it wasn't a multicultural, it was a very monocultural country, but I had this sort of awareness that that was something that was alluring to me. And at the same time, there was all these reports in the media of this sort of new disease, and it was very much positioned as a gay man's disease. And I sort of became aware of this concept of gay, and it was sort of positioned alongside this sort of death motif. So every time you seen anything about AIDS, HIV/AIDS, it was sort of gay man's disease, and you had these images of really sort of emaciated and very sickly people, and that was something I think even at an early age sort of found very troubling. To kind of contextualize that a bit, I suppose Ireland in the 80s was what I sometimes controversially describe as a clerical fascist state. It was priest-ridden. The entire social fabric of the country was determined by this Catholic, Puritan Catholic sort of it was a very destructive force. And as a sort of child who was starting to have these sort of awarenesses, I was massively into the media. I watched the news all the time, looked at newspapers and whatnot, and all these sort of narratives were starting to develop around gay and death. And my awareness that I might be that, so therefore my person equals death in a way. And also you had this culture that was saying explicitly, often in the classroom, that gay people are evil and they're going to go to hell. I mean, that's not hyperbole. This was it was the curriculum almost. That was kind of troubling. I'd say more than troubling, it's kind of traumatic in a way, because you were growing up with the sort of notion that you were somewhat evil. And that's the starkest way I can put it. I know that sounds very dramatic, but that's kind of what internally you were manifesting. I very quickly, at about 10 years old, decided I was an atheist and really became very, very anti-church. I suppose that was my way of resisting. But internally, I still kind of, there was a massive fear, of course, of like stating that, you know, I was attracted to men or boys at the time. So it's just like, that remained hidden for quite a while. And I suppose the long-term damage that causes is quite profound. So it took me a long time when I started identifying as bi. It took me a long time even to kind of trust my friends to state that, which is sort of, I suppose, in the sort of like punk, free party, you know, anarchist circles that I was around, is that sort of acceptable, if you know what I mean. There's sometimes a notion that the sort of whole punk world and, you know, free party world, this is really kind of free and open, but it is actually very, very macho environment and very heteronormative. And that was also something I was becoming aware of, is that all these people with these sort of radical views and still had heteronormative ideals, which made it again kind of difficult to kind of come to terms with what my sexuality actually was.